Hey, hello. Hello.
Hey, Blossom.
Hi, Peter.
Good to see you. Well, not seeing you yet, but good to hear you.
Here we go. Here we go.
Hey there.
Hi.
See you.
Hmm. How are you doing?
All right. Good.
Yeah. We've
Mhm.
got the same color sweater on. Look at that. A
Yeah,
mustard yellow sweater.
nice. Madeleine and Pedro have just joined us.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, Pedro. Hi, Madalena.
Hello.
Ah,
Oh,
Pedro. Hello.
I'm Sierra. Welcome.
Oh, everyone's here. Yay. I'm just gonna go grab my glasses so I can see everyone.
Just give me a moment.
Sure.
I just need to go to the toilet for a while. Sorry.
All
All right. All right. So, welcome. I was thinking today, rather than doing what I've done in the last sessions, which is often to give a little bit of an overview of how to approach ethical marketing, um, we can look at some specifics of what it is that you already have on offer. And if you would like any feedback on the messaging of it, the communication of it, uh, if you like, you can even screen share, show your website or your, and we can together as a community give some feedback, get a sense of what works well, what could be improved. I'm open to other questions, so it's a suggestion. You can see what comes up, what feels more useful as we go along. But that's a proposal. We can do some quite practical tweaking of key aspects of the messaging of what you do. If you have more kind of ground level questions about a project that you're starting up, then we can also address those. That's also fine. Did you took your headphones? You could hear what I was saying, right, Blossom?
Yeah, but I walked away. I didn't hear all of it. I heard that you wanted to do it a little bit different based upon things we might already have on offer.
Yeah. So if you've
And
got,
then,
for example, a website, a program, an offer of some kind, we can, as a community, we can have a look at it. We can see how, because sometimes we, as the expert in our own field, are wording things one way, and certain things are obvious to us and not as obvious to someone else who's looking at it. And so it can be helpful to get a sense of how are we messaging what it is we're offering, and see how clear it is to others. Or if there are questions relating to any project that you're beginning and offering that you're shaping now, we can work on that. So quite a sort of practical approach we could have today, just to the specific programs you have or offerings that you have. Anybody want to?
well, I would like to chime in straight away. So I'm feeling like because the summit's coming up and there is really actually something hands-on, tangible, I'm like, okay, this is my chance. Let's put something together. I have only ever been thinking about what I'm going to offer. And Omsir and I have been working a little bit together as well. So I'm like, I'm really at the beginning, like I'm landing page, but even also masterminding, for instance, what would I have when people are in the summit and they're like, hey, this is Dark Blossom from Love Tribe. She's actually got something. What is that? That's what I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
Great. Okay, so what's the starting point? Do you want to change something you already have, or are you feeling that you're going to create something new for this purpose of having an offer available?
Yeah, so I've had a couple of one-off clients that I've done through online. So I've got a little bit of an idea of how that goes, like how it works, whether it's on a WhatsApp or whether it's just on video. One was with a woman, one was with a man. I need to distill, but my experience is like this idea of emotional liberation. So people that are always in their head but I'm finding it very difficult because today I'm having a super challenging day and I can't seem to even help myself. So I'm like having one of those ideas like, how can I help others when I'm fucking a mess, but it's all about finding peace, It's like I really, after everything I've been through, it's like, wow, I feel like I could really help people find that inner peace. And I have enough tools in my toolbox. Is it a course? Is it a program? Is it a one-on-one offering where I offer 3 or 4 or 5 sessions? That all needs to be distilled.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So one aspect that we can also consider is how you frame what you do in a way that is solving a problem rather than describing a technique. So rather than, for example, focusing on, I give coaching for individuals, couples, whatever, where the emphasis is on, it's a modality you do. And if somebody's like searching coaching, then they'll find you and they will consider what you do and what someone else does who's on the list of people that come up when they search for coaching. But if you, instead of focusing on the modality, you focus on the transition that people experience through the coaching you do. You focus on the problem you're solving. You focus on the transformation, and that's what you name. And so that's what you verbalize when you explain what you offer. Then it gives a different relationship immediately to what you're proposing. You're no longer just one person in a whole list of people that do coaching, for example, or whatever it is that you're offering. But it's a way of personalizing and focusing directly on what transition people are hungry for, the pain they're experiencing, and the overcoming of that. And so there can be a challenge in terms of sometimes there isn't one specific transition that we already have in mind, right? We help people with their well-being. We help people with getting to peace of mind. And so it's a sort of an open and in a way, it's sort of a general movement towards feeling better. And so the challenge can be to think of, is there a specific type of person that you see yourself working with? Is there a specific type of person you have worked with and that you feel, wow, that really felt good working in this way? What was it about that client or that specific issue you were working with that felt good? So it can help to go from a broad idea to a more narrow idea for a specific offering. It doesn't have to define all your work. It doesn't have to limit all your work, but for a specific offering. A specific program, a specific ad, a specific something that you're offering, So to go from broad to specific, and so everyone who's listening also to consider that. Sorry, I'm just going to share the link with Carsten because I see he's posted.
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to shut the door.
He's trying to connect as well.
I can still hear you. I've got the headphones.
Okay. So yeah, all of you, if that what does that bring up for you? Does it bring up clarity or questions? And actually, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to just close the window. It's getting cold, rainy. Strange sounds. So, anything come from that? Any insights or any questions? Blossom, I don't know if you were saying something, but if it was you, your voice was kind of garbled. Couldn't hear.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Probably not. Oh, all right, better. I was like, are you speaking just to me or to anybody to answer that question?
To anyone who's ready to give either feedback or insight or questions. So it can be anyone who's digesting the invitation to consider the messaging and see what comes from that. So we can continue, Blossom, or anyone who's got a question or an insight. Pedro, you were going to say something, right?
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, this makes sense to me, Peter. Yeah, I can see different journeys that I've taken people on, or I can see different journeys. It can all be the same journey, right? But I can, for the sake of creating more clarity, so that people can identify specific from A to B that they can have with me. I can identify like at least 3 different journeys that I've had a lot of pleasure in taking people on. Yeah, so in this sense, it seems to me that I have either 3 types of archetypical clients or 3 types of journeys that different people, that either the same person can love the 3 journeys, or one person can love one of them, or like maybe one of them to be a point of entry for people.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing to bring in as well. The natural sequence, if there is one, of the different journeys or transformations. Because what you're bringing up brings in this other theme, which is we can offer a transformation that can take place in one consultation, perhaps. Or we can have a transformation that we know is going to really require a few weeks. It's going to require a series of sessions. It's going to require a process that takes some time. We can even have a journey that consists of several parts, and you could consider them several journeys or a sequence that fits together, and we may have that as an offering. And then there's the question of how do we make that available? Do we just list them as journeys or services, products, courses on a website, and so people choose, oh, I'll do that one, or I'll do this one? Or do we actually specifically make it one big program, one big journey that has these different steps? So this is something that can be thought of in lots of different ways, and there are benefits in doing it one way or another way. And so there's several things that can be considered. So again, if that's something that you have an interest in exploring with any of you in the programs that you're working with, welcome, Kirsten.
Hey man, how's it going? Sorry for taking a little bit longer. I was helping Dawn to find the chat and the link and everything. He ended up landing on the other call, on the other link. How's it going, man? You good?
Good. We've been just beginning to look at today a kind of the specifics of how we can be aware of how we message, how we transmit, how we frame what it is we offer. And so we're talking about the kind of the messaging of our offerings, and giving space for to any questions, any kind of feedback that the community can give as well on what we have already defined as our offering. So what our next steps are if we're in a creative process of putting an offering together, or okay, Madalena, big hug to you. Either the next steps that are useful or feedback on what you already have, and helping to optimize the communication of what you do. And what came up also through Blossom and Pedro was the framing of it, so that, are we offering a specific journey? Do we kind of generalize and say, oh, I coach, I do coaching, I'm a coach? Or do we focus on the outcome? Like, this is the outcome that I provide, that my process provides. And so it resonates in a different way when you just speak of something as a category of service, or if you're really emphasizing the outcome that's going to take place. And so this awareness of the different aspects of what we're communicating. So
I'd like to chime in there.
Yeah.
As soon as I hear giving an outcome that we provide, I notice that I'm just like, ooh, I don't feel like giving any guarantees.
Yeah.
Like, can we speak into that? Certainly, as an intuitive healer, and I don't have like a lot of paper credentials or academic backing and that kind of stuff. I haven't researched stuff all my life in that academic way. I feel in my body, as soon as I hear something about outcomes, I'm just like, ooh, oh, I would like for you to speak into that, because
Sure.
I know I'm struggling with this for a while now.
Yeah. So in relation to also what you said, about academic, like formal training or certifications, this kind of thing. Over the course of several years, I was doing course after course after course. I accumulated certifications, and I was only asked for certification when I was giving therapies at Boom. That was it. Never, ever been asked for my certificates for any other purpose. And I think they wanted it because they probably have insurance. They insure the whole thing. And so their therapists that they have there, they want insurance for them. And so they ask for the certification, so it helps in that whole process. I've never been asked for a certificate by a client. I've never been asked for a certificate by any of the places where I've given consultations. The conferences I've spoken at, nothing. No one's ever asked for it. It's mostly for your own self-confidence, yeah. So in relation to outcomes, if you, so there's one way of looking at it is just like, well, see how it goes. I can't promise anything. See how it goes. And if it doesn't give an outcome, well, better luck next time. So it's not the most enticing offer, right? If you're able to give a guarantee, not that it is going to work, but that if after 2 or 3 sessions people don't get what they're looking for, then either you give a refund or you give them the option to enroll in a different thing, and so you transfer the payment for another program, for example. But having some way, or after like the first 5 days after their first session, before they book the next one, they can decide whether they want to continue or not. So there's giving them the ability to evaluate moving forward with you without the sense that it's going to be a risk. It's going to be a risk. They don't know the outcome. If you can take the feeling that it's a risk out of the decision making, it really helps people to decide to work with you. Because sometimes people will have had such good testimonies that they're completely open, they're ready. But there are some people who they just met you, they resonated with what you said, but they're not yet fully open. And so it's like, I'm not sure, they're kind of unsure, like, is this where I want to put my money? I don't really know what this is yet. I don't know for sure it's going to help me. You know, there are people that will be in that situation. And so knowing, well, look, you can sign up for example, my program is 5 sessions, or my program is 10 sessions. But if after the first couple of sessions you realize this isn't what you expected, it's not right for you, then you get your investment back. You know, so you can encourage them to make a commitment for a whole journey, 10 sessions, whatever it is that you offer. But at the same time, it's not with no promise of it being right for them, you know, because that's going to be a difficult thing to convince them of. Yeah, I'll enroll for 10 sessions. I've never experienced it before. I don't know if it's going to work. Here's the money. So it's you can find a way. It's not the same thing saying, I'm definitely going to get you this result, but it's saying, if I don't get you the result you're looking for, if you don't feel the result within X amount of time, you know, feel free to have a refund. And obviously, if you're working one-to-one, that's going to involve your time. There's a risk for you that you're going to use up whatever it is, an hour, 2 hours of your time and not get that client to continue. So when it's a group program and it's one person out of a whole group that says, no, this isn't for me, you haven't really used up your time on that person specifically because it's a group. So there's more risk for you working one-to-one, but it's going to help people make that decision. And there are ways of helping to reduce the number of people that do think, this isn't what I expected, this isn't what I want. You can reduce the number of people that end up in that situation by offering something to them like a pre-recorded class, like a something that makes it very clear to them what it is you're offering. And that way, much higher percentage of the people that decide to work with you know what they're doing and therefore not going to back out of it. You know? And you can offer a really good guarantee in the sense, not that you definitely get X result, but you'll definitely be satisfied. If not, you get your money back. And the fact is, they already know what they're getting into, so most of them are making a decision knowingly and they're aligned with what you're offering. They've experienced some of it already, even without you having to give your time for that because you've given them a free class or the recorded one, you know? So they've got familiar with your work.
So basically, since we cannot give a guarantee for the results of our product, whatever it is, we still can give a money back guarantee, right? Basically.
Yeah. And in some cases, you might be able to give an actual guarantee of results. It depends on what you're offering, but you can give them the feeling of safety in making their investment. Like you said, through a money-back guarantee, through a, you can use this money in one of the other programs or one thing or the other like that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Like one of the things that I actually do for my Kundalini yoga sessions, like I hold 2 sessions weekly. Is that if it's a new person, the first session is free for them, and then they have a choice of just coming in for drop-in sessions, which is slightly a bit more expensive, or come and for the sessions weekly, at a much more reduced price. So that's how I approach it. And so far, like it's been helpful. Like it takes a longer time to build the people who would stay, but the people who eventually stay like really like understands what you're trying to do and sticks with you as well. So that's my experience of it.
I think I missed just the first part because the sound was a little bit fuzzy for me. But you were saying that you begin with what's that first part you said about how they before they enroll? There's a process.
Yeah. So like if it's their first time meeting me and it's their first session of Kundalini yoga, like their first session with me, it's FOC. It's purely for their experience,
right?
For their full, allowing them to experience the teachings, and then after that, they can decide how they want to enter or not. Yeah.
And that's in the context of a group class where the rest of the group may be already enrolled, but people can come into a class, experience it for free as a trial class. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so if you don't have a regular class where that kind of dynamic can take place, you can have a once a month or more regular or in different locations or in some way have a presentation you give, a talk, a workshop that's not like a whole weekend, something that gives people an experience of what you're offering. And
like a webinar.
It could be a webinar.
Like a weekly webinar that I used to do with the Mindship Heart Set thing.
Yeah. So it's something that, in the case of a webinar, it could even be pre-recorded, but the advantage of doing it live is that you can answer people's questions at the end and you can invite them to join whatever program you have at the end and be there to answer any questions live. So, again, it's a similar thing to what I was saying, Blossom, in relation to having some way that they experience what you're offering before they have to make a big investment. And so they feel confident, I do want to do this. And I already get a feeling for who the person is. So I'm willing to take that risk of paying money without fully knowing the process, but I already feel the confidence to do that. And so the combination of a form of guarantee with some experience that's already, a taste of what you're offering can be a helpful factor in making a decision, a commitment to work with you. Any other insights or questions on how you'd apply this to you and your programs, your offerings?
So I've seen many times, and I myself have done it, where people offer a meet and greet call, or a discovery call, or there was a woman who was trying to sell me a 5,000 euro program for whatever. And so we had a call, and it was almost an hour, and she, really, we got to the point where she finally, towards the end of the hour, started to tell me what it would cost, what the investment would be. So that's the way I've seen a lot of people do it. And was that for working one-on-one? It was a bit of both. Like you would have group sessions, and then you would also have, and I think the program was 3 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one advice that's sometimes given in relation to the way you enroll people into what you're offering, the way you bring people on board. Thank you, Pedro. Is it depends on how big is the investment, which relates in a way to how big is the risk they feel in beginning to work. So to work with you. So for example, if you're offering the to go to show the kind of extremes. You know, if you're offering a $7 ebook, you don't need to do a call with them one-to-one to help them decide if they're going to buy it, because they're just going to, you know, they're willing to take that risk and to experience it without. It wouldn't make sense for you to give your time, and perhaps it wouldn't make sense for a one-day workshop either. Perhaps it wouldn't make sense for let's call it a low-budget course that's fully pre-recorded and that they pay $49, $97, something like that. But like you gave with the example, a $5,000 course, maybe you would be much more likely, if you're offering a $5,000 course, to get people into the program by speaking with them first and giving them an opportunity to clarify any doubts they have, and for you to also ask them, what are they really looking for? What transition are they feeling a need to experience? And establish a rapport with them and establish the clarity of recognition on that you know what they are going through. Because if they know that you know what they're going through, then it's a totally different thing from them just making this big investment without really having established a connection with you and a clarity that you know what they need, you know what they're going through, you know where they're at. And so it's often recommended by business coaches, marketers, that for what's considered a medium ticket, high ticket offer, that you would do a one-to-one coaching call, you personally, or if you have a team, you know, if you've got a bigger thing and you've got a team, then one of your team would speak with them and help do that process with them. So in some cases, like you said, there can be a group process first, like a webinar. It could be that even though there's a webinar first, and you might think, well, they watch the webinar, then they decide. That could work. Again, it could work for a workshop. It could work for a low budget course, but not necessarily for a higher budget course, a $5,000 one. Maybe they need to, even after the webinar, they might still need to speak with somebody to help get them to that point of deciding and feeling confident. Yeah, this is a priority for me now. This makes sense now. You know, to talk through that. And there's a lot more that could be said about that process, about the actual that coaching call as a you would call it an onboarding call, or rather the word's escaping me now, but the process of helping them come to clarity about whether that's.
I've heard it called clarity call, discovery call. These are some of the names that a meet and greet. It depends on kind of what you're offering. You want to discover if you're a match, or you want to get to some sort of clarity.
Yeah.
But also in just like a private in-person one-to-one session, I always have a call first. I mean, just to clarify safety, you know, do you feel safe with each other? So
yeah. So
I think that's all basically what I've been doing also with my, my coaching calls.
Uh-huh.
Like I give a free session where basically I give them everything I can. Especially this is the one where I speak into nutrition and all the things that people can do to be more in shape, reduce inflammation, lose weight, or just in general get a more, I don't know, how do I say that without offending anybody that is of the opinion of other diets or whatever, but a more consistent diet with the ancestrality of humans, something like that,
Uh-huh.
And basically I would give them one hour of antenna time, you know, with me, and we speak into everything. And the thing is that usually that it, you know, like it's difficult to pick everything up and know the reasons why not this and why this and so on and so forth. So you know, because usually one of the things that I usually had was, so I'm gonna give them so much and they're not gonna pay to me or anything, or it's gonna be for free, and then they will have all the information and they don't need me anymore, right? But that's, you know, that's just a scarcity mindset, I think. And
Yeah.
even if you give them an hour or 2 hours, they won't be able to, you know, to keep all of it. And what's going on, Blossom? You gotta go.
Nothing, nothing. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and then I make a proposal. You know, I give this 1 hour with them, and then I make a proposal for 3 months. Basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also give them a sliding scale of values, of which the lowest one is the one that I'm really happy about already.
Mhm.
Right. And then,
Great.
you know, yeah.
Great. So there's like I was saying earlier, there's a lot that could be said about that process, because we can try to pack as much in as possible, you know, give them really high value. And I agree, you know, let's not get into scarcity mindset of thinking, no, I should hold back from something because otherwise I give them too much for free. Like that's not the kind of thinking that you want to have when giving your session. But it is worth being aware of, you might give the wrong impression in the sense that I've given you everything you need to know, and they may have received so much that what they're really feeling is, okay, I got to go and digest all of that. You've given me so much that I feel like I'm now going to maybe need to go and research about what you've told me. And so they don't necessarily, at the end of all that information, feel that the next logical step is actually to work with you. They may be super grateful, super respectful of your knowledge, and yet not feel necessarily that the next step is, yeah, let's do those 3 months together. There are reasons why we might end up overwhelming them rather than helping them into the program. And so the methodology that I work with now with business coaching is it sets out your program as a 9-step framework for reasons that we don't have to go into in depth, but it's the person who put this together, Aaron Fletcher, he's really studied the learning experience, what helps people to retain information, what helps people to assimilate. So lots of different studies have led to this concept of the 9-step framework. Okay, and so this is what he proposes as a method for everybody's programs, courses, even a book. If you're going to put a book together, 3 sections, 9 chapters is probably what he would suggest. This is 9-step journey. Okay, and it's represented as a map, a visual map with 3 rows. And so you go alongside the bottom row, you go up to the next row, and then you go up to the next row, like a sort of a snaking up like this. And
you say rows or roads?
Rows. So you go along the bottom one, and then you go up to the next row, and then up to the next row. And so it's these 3 steps on each row. And when you give a discovery call, one of these one-to-ones that would be free as an introductory call, as an invitation ultimately also to work with you, or as a filtering also, because at the end of the session, you might say, I don't think that actually what I offer is right for you. That might be the outcome. You're not necessarily just trying to enroll everybody. You're also trying to make sure that you're connecting with the right person and that they're going to benefit from what you're offering. So you could, instead of trying to give them, let's say you've done this, right? You've set out your program as 9 steps, just as an example. Let's say you've done that, right? You've got this clarity that there are 9 steps. Instead of trying to give them an overview of the 9 steps in your onboarding call or in your discovery call, you could focus in depth on 1 step, give them real clarity on that 1 step, and then zoom out and say, this fits in here in this journey. To get the most, because you may not even give them the first step. You may give them the step they're most interested in, the one that gives them motivation to speak with you in the first place. And in some cases, you understand that before they can fully take advantage of that, they actually need to do this other ground level stuff. And so at the end of that discovery call, you might say, so what we've gone through today, I'm just giving you an example of how this could play out, but what we've gone through today actually is month 1 in my 9-month program, as an example, or it's week 1 in a 6-month program, or whatever it may be. But we've gone through an overview, given you clarity on this 1 step, and actually it's not even the first step. There are foundational aspects that enable you to make the most of that, and then there are these other steps, and that may have a completely different effect in terms of they still come out with value. If they just don't decide to work with you, they've still got value from the session. And rather than feeling overwhelmed because you've given them a little bit of every part of the journey, you've all the benefits, let's say, of a session, which are they get value from it, they get to know you better, they get to feel for whether you can help them. You get all those benefits anyway, but without the overwhelm. And with the clarity of, okay, this is just 1 part, and for me to get the full value of what you're offering, I get how it relates, it interrelates. Like there's this, and this, and I'm curious and interested in how it all fits together, and I see how I want to make the most of the whole journey. Like they don't come out of there thinking, okay, I need to now integrate for a week and research and so on. It's like you've shown them that there's a map, and you've shown them where they are on the map. There's a strong psychological impact of you being able to show them a map. So that's how this framework I'm specializing in works. Like I talked about the 9-step program, it's a way of mapping their journey, and the fact that they see you have a map has it encourages them to work with you, because they don't just see it as a lot of information, that you're an expert and you have a lot of information. You have a process, and it takes you from A to B. It emphasizes that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the map is really cool. Showing them the way it speaks into that thing of if you don't know where you're going, you don't know when you're there, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of, it's going into your client, definitely he's like, oh, he's got all this planned for me, and I'm only doing this,
Yeah.
And it spikes. I don't know. I'm thinking about the spike protein or whatever. It spikes that thing of, the curiosity. Oh, well, what's the next step? And so
Yeah.
they get hooked. Yeah, it hooks them. Yeah.
Yeah, and think of it in terms of ethically hooking them, because it's not just a trick to get them hooked.
Yes.
It's also that you give them a practical outcome at the end of the session rather than overwhelm, and you give them a practical view of how that all interrelates without the sense of overwhelm. And so even if they decide, okay, I love what you've offered, but I actually don't have the time or the money or the whatever it may be, they still get tremendous value from it and understand their journey better. So it's not just about hooking them to get them into the program. It serves them better as well as serving you better to really make sure you don't overwhelm them by trying to just pour everything you can into that one session, because they won't be able to implement it all. And your hope is that you're going to help them implement it all over 3 months, but they may not even, if they may not feel ready because of overwhelm. They may not feel ready to say yes, and they also can't come out of there and apply systematically what you've offered because it was so much, in that one session. So there's that risk, and we can dedicate one of these sessions to really going into detail on the structure of how to do that one-to-one call in a way that's effective. If that's something that you'll be interested in.
Yes, definitely.
Great.
I'd definitely be interested in that. Also, the 9 steps, is that something that we think up ourselves, or is there something more like the framework itself? Is that something more that you have that you can offer? Right?
Yeah, I have tools that help you to do that. So
tools to help us figure out what the 9 steps are. Is that what you mean? Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of the London Rio, the Business Accelerator, where I had 6 steps. With the Mind Shape Heart Set, it was what? Meditation, breath work, cold exposure, intermittent fasting, ancestral diet, and movement. Or movement and ancestral diet. Yeah, I think the diet was the last one.
Sounds cool, Karsten. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. And the name was Mind Shape Heart Set.
Ah, that's where you got that from. I didn't realize that was part of the London Real course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mind Shape Heart Set. Yeah.
Yeah, Mind Shape Heart Set. Yeah, I like it.
It was like the mix of, mindset, shape set, you're getting in shape, and then heart set also.
One bit of feedback I can give on that is you laid out really useful, potent practices. You describe them as what they are, what you do in those steps, to something to experiment with in your communication of your offer, of your program. You could experiment with changing the description of the components, instead of to what activity is involved in each one, what is solved in each one.
Oh yeah, I had stages. They were the stages, or I think phases would actually even be more interesting to listen to. And they had I don't know not so much like what they resolved, but what they activated, so to speak. What was it again? I need to look that stuff up. It's just to kind of bring it back up again, because it was pretty cool actually. But then I dropped it, because it was a little bit exhausting, the whole social media stuff and so on. Because what I was sharing with you, Blossom, yesterday also, the whole systemizing. Yeah, creating a system of creating content, having a system of creating content. That was the thing that was the most difficult for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got resources for that as well, in this as part of this framework that I'm working with, because when you create this 9-step framework, you can create, for example, a webinar on any of those 9 steps. You can create a webinar about any of them. Even the final step, which you think, well, you can only really do that properly once you go through the rest of the program, but you can still give clarity on that, on the nature of that step. You can give insight about it. You can give some sort of transformation associated with it. And again, like you would at the end of the discovery session, you zoom out at the end of that webinar and say, this fits in here, in this process, with this supporting it, with this leading up to it. And so you can use a webinar in the same way you would use the introductory session. Anything else coming up for you? How you'd apply this? Actually, I want to say something as well, which is that it makes sense before really focusing on how you would approach the one-to-one call to help people into your program. It makes sense to look in more depth at the program and what it is you're offering. Like I was saying to Carsten about, rather than describing each step as what you do in that step, what modalities you're doing in that step, describing it as what transformation takes place or what problem you're solving, what pain you're relieving, you know, and that way, when somebody looks at it, rather than thinking, okay, I have this work to do, then I have that work to do, then I have that work to do, they think, okay, here I get to resolve this problem that I'm experiencing, and I get to feel the relief of that. And then I get to feel the relief of this. And then that gives you a completely different feeling about it than I got all this work ahead.
And there's so many different works, like so many different activities that could lead to the same relief. For instance, I'm experiencing the pain of separation. I want relief of that. That would be, you know, connection. And right now, the activity that would help me is communication, any, you know, communication skills or communication tool. But there could be a lot of different tools that could relieve that pain. You know, it depends on what kind of separation you're talking. So,
and in some cases, you might have several tools available that you would choose. If you're working one-to-one, you might, rather than listing the many tools you have for that stage, you might, like we were saying, focusing on the outcome, but it's in the journey itself that you really apply the appropriate tool to that person. And so instead of having to describe, well, we do this or we do that, you focus on how this outcome sets you up for this next stage, and then that outcome naturally brings you to that stage, and so on. And then one thing that we haven't explicitly talked about today is that when you're describing these things, it's different if you're having a one-to-one conversation and you get to know something about the person, and therefore you know what language to use, what references to use, what questions, specific questions to answer. It's a different thing when you're giving a webinar to a faceless audience, or a group that's too big for you to really engage one-to-one with many people. And so knowing in advance who you're sending this message out to, what kind of person is it? What is their life situation? What is their, what characteristics do they have? What problems or interests? So there is the defining of your target audience, which is often referred to as your avatar, your client avatar, your customer avatar, your student avatar, you know, the characterizing of who they are, so that you actually know how to speak to them, even if it's a group of people, even if you're writing an article to them, or, you know, a blog post, or it's a webinar and it's pre-recorded, but you still know how to speak to them because you know who they are. You know what they're dealing with. You know what their pains are. You know what's meaningful to them. So that's, again, a ground level thing that comes into it's before even how you name each step of your framework, for example, because how you name it is going to depend on who you're communicating with. So the more clear it is to you, what are the pains, needs, desires, fears of the people that you're working with, that will inform everything you express about what you're offering. So, yeah, go ahead.
Would you be open to reviewing something? Like, could, I or any one of us run something by you?
Sure. Yeah. You can do screen share if you have a website or something you want us to look at.
I actually recently recorded something to someone because they were like, I suggested like, hey, I'm open. And they're like, well, what exactly is it? What can I expect? And so I was like, which is a great question because it makes me, feel into what is that? And so it's just a voice clip, but I mean, I'd love to run that by you, someone who's not actually interested in it, but to hear, from your perspective, because it applies to this. I mean, what I'm saying to one individual, where I feel like there's definitely something that I could offer there. This could apply to a bigger, the bigger audience or different clients. So you're open to that?
Yeah. Today, you're not suggesting doing it right now live. You're suggesting sending it to me, and then I give you feedback. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in this case, it happens to be a voice clip, but it could be for the same money. I mean, it could be a piece of text or yeah.
Yeah. So one way that I can also help you in more depth and in a more systematic way than we've been doing today is to let's see. I mentioned that what I'm working with is the Fletcher. I don't know if I said the Fletcher method, but it's a business coaching program, marketing program.
Yeah, Aaron Fletcher. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a free program. I think it's still free that he offers called the 14-day course launch. Actually, high ticket course launch formula. And you can sign up for that, and you can do this program that it's a 14-day course that takes you through the process of formulating what you offer. Well, first of all, getting clear about what you want to offer, who it's for, and the process of setting it out as a 9-step framework and formulating the nature of each step or even sub-steps, because perhaps you have a 27-step program, but you still formulate it as a 9-step one with sub-steps. So it's a 9-step map that's visual as a 9-step map, no matter how many sub-steps you have. And so the 14-day course, high-ticket course launch formula guides you through the process, and I can support you in getting unstuck with it. So you can do this program, and I can support you in the process. There is a platform that I have access to, a coaching platform, and if you want, you can sign up there. I can send you an invite link. You can sign up so that you basically, when you get to the day 7 or 8, around that time in the program, there is you can start using the coaching platform for some of the next steps in the process. Like Carsten, you were saying, I think that there's a certain amount of overwhelm you're feeling about generating content for social media. There is a software that I work with where by getting clear on the foundational definitions of what you offer, you answer a bunch of questions into the software, and then it uses templates to generate emails that you can send as a sequence to the people that come into your list. It can generate a template from a template. It can generate an ad that's personalized to your offering because of the answers that you've given to the questions, can generate a whole bunch of marketing material. So you have far less thinking and work to do about creating content.
It was more about the videos, actually, you know, like me walking around in the garden doing my stuff and talking about the subject, and also talking about life, basically. I don't know if you know not Curtis Stone, sorry, Justin Rhodes. He's got this YouTube channel. It's him and his family, and he's just doing his, farm chores and talking about his challenges and, speaking about his programs, and you see him doing everything. And actually, I love it. I love it. And he makes like half-an-hour videos every time almost. Sometimes it's like 7 minutes, sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's half an hour, sometimes 45 or 1.5 hours. And then sometimes it just takes everything that is, for example, he has one video that is everything, his whole process around pigs, like 2 years of pigs, and he made a video of 1 hour 50 with it, basically a guide, And then he still has, he's doing all his farm work. He's working with his kids and his wife, basically. And he films every day almost, I think. Basically, them still in the morning standing in the kitchen, and then him taking one of the kids out at night, not at night, but in the morning, like, I don't know, like 6 o'clock in the morning while it's still dark and stuff, and starting his chores and starting his things and always talking about life. And for me lately, this has been like, oh, I love it, it's just good company.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more or less the same, like creating a little bit of this vibe, running around with my phone, the stabilizer and the tripod. But then, at the end of the day, I need to come to the computer, put it all in the computer, put it in the I have Sony, what's it called? Sony Vegas Pro. My brother gave me the program. It's it's for computer. It's actually pretty simple but pretty good to do some cuts and stuff, put stuff together, and then render it and then upload it. Like this whole process still takes some time. And then if you want to have it on Instagram, or if you want to have it on whatever, YouTube or Facebook or whatever, you need to be able to, to play around with the platforms.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit of my challenge, because, I think I'm free flowing on the camera, and because I can, once I start talking, I can talk for a very long time about these subjects. But then, I get a little bit lost with, I had the content produced, but I haven't set on a computer to cut it, to then upload, to render it and then upload and all that stuff.
And also there's all that work, and there's also the potential to just generate a lot of content and not generate a lot of customers, clients, students, whatever the objective is. Because if your idea is like, I just want to put out educational content, then it's okay whether you're generating customers, clients or not. You're satisfied that you're putting out useful information. But if you feel that the best way you're going to serve people is by taking them through a systematic process, then you want to encourage them to get into that systematic process with you. And there's a big difference between generating fans who appreciate what you do compared to people that actually value getting into your systematic program. People who casually watch your content, or people that engage in the system, So there's a danger in just like feeling that, well, if I generate enough content, then people are bound to become clients. And yeah, I mean, it increases your possibilities, of course, being visible, people getting to know you, it does increase the possibilities. But if you don't have an effective onboarding process, then just content may be a very inefficient way to do the process. So
Oh shit, Blossom just took off.
it,
I
it,
think, is it now? She was saying that the call was going to be now.
and hop over to the Freedom Tribe call. I think it's at 7.
Yeah, at 7 hour time, not 7 her time.
Yeah, it might have changed this week because in the US they're in a different. They've changed, or rather, we've changed and they haven't. So that she might be adjusting to their time, possibly. Maybe it is happening now. So we're going to complete because I need to get on to another call in a few minutes as well. So
Yeah.
let's complete, and I'm going to now I should just share the link if you want to sign up for that high ticket course launch formula. The link is now in the chat, so you can save the link. You can check it out.
Also, Peter, you mentioned last week that you're going to send out some framework things. What was this part of it, or is it another?
It actually is. They're included in this course. So
So do we have to put your email in here?
you sign up. You sign up. This isn't the coaching platform that I can send you an invite to. This you put in your email. This is the same link that's in the Freedom Tribe call.
It's say again.
Blossom wrote, "This is the same link that's in the Freedom Tribe call."
I'm back. Yeah, I went to the calendar and it's the same link.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is only in 1 hour or not, I think.
I thought it was at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock our time in
Fuck,
Portugal.
okay. All right. Right. The calendar hasn't changed because okay. Right. Got it, guys. So Madalena's on in a little bit of over an hour. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to join the Tantra call, Blossom, we're going to start it in 5 minutes. So we're going to complete here, and I'm going to start that call.
Okay.
I shared the link here.
This, the link that you shared.
Say again?
To the link that you shared, if you can explain, like it says log into your account, and then it says email and password, but I don't have it yet.
Does it not give you the option to begin to create an account?
Yeah, enter your email.
Yeah, create your account.
But no, it says log into your account.
Oh yeah, it says log into your account.
Oh, okay. So maybe they're not offering the free version anymore, possibly. Let's just see.
Right.
Try, because what happens when I open it is it first shows create an account and then it changes, right? So it happens to you as well.
Yeah.
So when you first open it, it jumps quickly to.
Yeah, it jumps quickly to just log in. Yeah, it's true.
But at the top, it says log in or create your account, right?
Yeah, that's what I see as well.
Okay,
Which
so try.
says log into your account.
Yeah, but right at the top, it says log in or create account, right?
Yeah, but you can't click on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I just did the Control-Shift-R, which is like hard refresh. And it said something at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then it disappears, like he jumps onto.
Okay.
Yeah. Very quickly. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, I'm going to try and find out whether it's still available free. And if it is, then I'll share it in the BizTribe page. Because maybe that's what's happened. They may not be making it available anymore.
Cool. So you're having your Tantra Tribe call now, or what? Wow.
It's not a Tantra Tribe call, but it's a course that I'm giving.
Right. It's not for the tribe. Yeah. Peter, I've got a question.
Yeah.
High ticket course launch. So, you've probably heard of the imposter syndrome. We all have, but can I go from asking a couple $100 for a one-off session right now to launching a 14-day or launching a high ticket course?
You
Like how
can.
did, because I have already listened to, there's so many on Facebook, there's so many women out there, you know, women entrepreneur coaches that they're coaching all of us women to launch a high ticket course. And I always keep coming back around, and I think Carson struggles with this as well. Like, who am I to put out a high ticket course? And yeah, I feel like this is a much more safe group to talk about this kind of things, but this is what I'm up against.
So this program is to help you get to that point of feeling comfortable with it, because it helps you understand how to formulate what you're offering in a different way, you know, in a way that, like I was saying, really about how you can frame things as content, as information, as education, because you're an expert in that field. You have a lot of content stuff that you can share, or you can frame it as this is a solution to this problem that you're facing. And the difference that someone will feel from those two things is, well, okay, you're an expert, you got information, but I can get a book for information. I can go to YouTube for information. I can go to a blog. I can go to so many different places. But when you present it as, here's the solution, or when you present it as, here's the map from here to here, then there are a bunch of things that happen. There's a uniqueness about what you're offering. And there's the recognition, you know the journey, like you've mapped it even, and they can make sense of that map. So there are several things about the way you communicate it, frame it, that turn something that could be kind of bland into something that's appealing, something that looks generic, turns it into something that people recognize, okay, you've got something of value that it's going to make a difference in my life. So the framing of it changes the value of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So is it beneficial for me to like think back and go like, God, actually, how did I get here? What is the map? Let's see, if I were to like take out a piece of paper and start mapping out how I got to where I am now, because let's just say I have improved over the last 20 years. But maybe if I had the map of what I did to get to where I am now, like my question is, would that be beneficial to like really sit down and say, okay, what all have I done? Because actually I was doing some reflecting yesterday and I was like, whoa, look where I was in 2007. I don't want people to have to take 20 years.
Yeah, well, that's one of the ways. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the ways for you to formulate what you offer, is to see the journey you've made and how to shorten that journey for somebody else. That's one of the exact ways to figure out.
I feel like that's actually what I want. Like if I really tap into what is it that I want to not even save people time, but I want to give them time.
Yeah.
I want to give them time for the quality of life instead of time that they are spending on their constant struggles, or do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not that I'm not struggling anymore, because I am, but
but you can still save people a bunch of stress and save them a bunch of time. Sure.
With some stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I've shared a link which may work for you. I think I discovered where it's available. Has anybody opened it and checked?
I'm doing it right now. Scholarship.
So yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to jump
cost. Right, sign up for free. Yeah, this is the right link. Thank you.
Great.
So.
And it's a brilliant course. It really is. It sometimes feels like it's a lot of information, but it's really brilliant if you take it step by step. And I'll help with keeping you going. You know, any support you'd like, I'd be happy to help. And then we can even use the platform that will help to generate content. So really, this can be a powerful process.
Awesome.
So the moment I click on this, it starts or what? I have like,
It's a recorded thing. So there isn't a specific day when it starts. It's a recorded course. Yeah.
oh, is it only the video that I watch or what?
There are exercises. There are frameworks to fill
I
in.
click on launch your product now. Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay, but I have just only limited time to start this, right?
There is possibly. I mean, it says that the offer is available for 11 hours. It says that on my screen. So that might be the case. They might be changing their offer. But once you're enrolled, I think you might have permanent access to it. So there might be an urgency to enroll, but not to complete it. You don't have to complete it in 11 hours. You've got the 14 days, and probably you've got longer. But if you aim to complete it in 14 days, you're going to get the most out of it. You know, if you just leave it as a sort of thing that you could do eventually, you're not going to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've got to jump off the call and start my Tantra class. Thank you all for participating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's-
Bye
let's
for
talk
now.
later. Love you, brother.
Let's keep the conversation going in the BizTribe call for any support on this. Lots of love
Yes.
to you all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Lots of love,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.